Hello Year 11 and welcome to the balance sheet part 2. Now this is often seen as the more worrying part of the question and the one where naturally people lose marks, and it's just because they're intimidated by the ratios or the percentages and some of the longer mark questions that follow. Now I expect to see a question very similar to this in the exam, and there's plenty of practice on the papers that are on your OneNote. But we need to refer back to the little bit of text that you will see on the previous video. So now we need to look at our current ratio for 2015 to fill in this grey little box, and we need to find our current assets and our current liabilities for that. So I've highlighted the totals already for both the assets and the liabilities for both years, and I just need to draw out the equation, so therefore showing current assets of 1,250 and our current liabilities of 750. If I work that sum out, it gives me a ratio of 1.67 to 1. Nice and easy 2 marks for that bit. And again, it's very similar for the acid test ratio. So I find the current assets and the current liabilities for 2016, referring back to my question previously, which gives me 1,800. Divided by 600, which are my liabilities, as you can see here and here. Now that's not, I also need to take off my stock on my acid test ratio. So again, I find out what my stock is, and in this example it's £900. I work out 1,800 minus 900 to start with, and then I divide the answer by 600, and you should find that the answer is 1.50 to 1. Again, a very nice and easy 4 marks that you are pulling information from the previous bit of text. Remember to bring your calculator for that section. As we scroll down, we're asked in part E to work out the debtor collection period and the creditor payment period. Now it's also interesting to note that it asks for 2 decimal places, so please make sure that you don't use 1, or you don't round it up, or you don't round it down, and you don't put it to 3 or 4. Okay, so again, we're just picking information from the bit of text or the balance sheet or somewhere previously in this question. So I need my debtors and my credit sales for this bit. So I scroll up to my balance sheet, and there we have my debtors placed in my current assets. So I need to work out this out for 2015, and my debtors are £600. I then use this bit of information here to find my credit sales, which gives me a total of 4,000. And because I'm working in days, I need to times this by 365. This should give you a total of 54.75 days. Okay, and again, remember to write days on the end there just to secure your mark. It's very similar for this creditor payment period. So the creditor and the cost of sales this time. So again, we scroll up. We find our creditors under our current liabilities, and we fill in and we draw out the equation as provided. So that's 600. We find our cost of sales. Again, it's in this table here. 600 divided by 8,000 times it again by 365 should give you a total of 27.38 days. Now again, without being too challenging, just picking the information from the bits of text, you've got yourself another 8 marks. Now the tricky part comes with this 9 mark question, and this is where you are going to get your top marks from. Okay, those, especially for those of you looking for your B's and A's. So you've been asked to consider all 4 ratios. So don't start talking about different parts of the balance sheet. You just need to use these 4 parts that you've just calculated. Okay, but you need to show an understanding of what is what within this. Okay, it also asks you to advise Drew and Molly whether or not they should go ahead with their expansion. So we also know it's important to make a decision at the end of it. So let's have a little look at the information. So for our current ratio, the ideal should be 1.5 to 1. Now here in this example, we've gone from 1.67 to 1 to 3 to 1. So we are well above our expected amount. So if we look at our current ratio and we say it's above the average, and it improves, you're getting your first mark. You should also say that because it is 3 to 1, that is extremely high. Okay, and therefore you've got £3 of assets to cover every £1 of liabilities, and you should look to invest some of this money. This suggests that we should invest some of our assets. Okay, now that's your 2 marks for that current ratio, because you only get 2 marks for each one, because there's 4 different bits. We've got our next one, we have our acid test ratio. So if we look again at our bit of information to see what's happened, it's gone from 0.80 to 1 to 1.50 to 1. Now this should be somewhere around the 1 to 1 mark, so it's increased and it's still looking good. So again, we can say that it's improved in the second year, stating the obvious to get your 3rd mark. Now to get your full mark, you need to say what this means. Okay, and this means that Vinyl Records has no trouble paying its debts even when stock is not included. Has no issues paying its debts when stock is not included. Two marks. So then we move on to the debtor collection period. Okay, and I'm going to abbreviate to DCP because I'm running out of space. So the debtor collection period has dropped from 54.75 days to 31.29 days. Okay, so again, you can say this has dropped. And you can work it out as well, just to give it that extra little bit, to dropped by over 23. Oh. Dropped by over 23 days. Okay, this shows that it's collecting its debts faster, so therefore it has less money owing to the business. Okay, so this means it is collecting its money faster. So remember, a debtor is somebody who has bought something off you and owes you some money. Okay, and a creditor is something that you owe. So if we move on to our final bit, okay, so our creditor payment period, we can see that it's gone from 18.25 days to 27.38 days. So we can now say that this is increased by 9 days. Again, just stating the obvious. Okay, now to get our final mark, we need to say this means that Vinyl Revival is taking more time to pay its debts. more time to pay its debts. Okay, so it just means it gets more credit. Yeah, so instead of having 18.25 days to pay for different items, it's now got 27.38 days. And if you look at those two figures, okay, they are almost matching. Okay, which gives it a massive help when trying to balance its books. So therefore, the final mark comes from your suggestion. So I think that, and again, this example is showing pretty good, that Vinyl Revival should go ahead with its expansion. Okay? And you can go on to say the business has no trouble paying its debts. And has too much money in the business. Okay, so that's a very good answer now. Yeah, because you've got your 2 points for your current ratio, you've got your 2 points for your acid test ratio, same for your debtor collection period and your creditor payment period, and you've given it some kind of context by saying whether you think it should go ahead with their proposed expansion. So go ahead and practice those on some of the examples in the exam paper section on OneNote. And please send them off to me so that I can have a look at them and help you even further with that question there. Thank you and goodbye.